I'm going to stray away from the usual Blu-ray reviews to talk about an old film that came out a long time ago, and it's the only way you can get it here in the States is DVD, and that is the Roger Avery crime film Killing Zoe or Killing Zoe. Not sure how you're supposed to pronounce it. I would prefer Zoe, but I think a lot of people refer to it as Killing Zoe. This is the old-fashioned Artisan DVD, which, to my knowledge, is the only way that you can get this bad boy here in America, although there are 2 Blu-rays that are foreign, maybe 3 if you count the Japanese one. And I know one transfer on one of those looks terrible, according to Blu-ray.com, but one of them looks really, really good. The Region B, and since I don't know if we're ever going to get these here in a timely manner, this here in a timely manner, maybe we should go for that if you can. But nonetheless, if you don't know, the director, like I said, is Roger Avery, who is maybe best known for being Quentin Tarantino's buddy and writing some parts of Pulp Fiction and maybe even True Romance. Depending on who you ask, depends on how much he might have had to do with either one. I think the 2 had a bit of a falling out, but you could tell with the style of this movie that there is definitely some Tarantino-ish things that Avery does that is just as enjoyable. I came across this myself during the time that I was on my first original Tarantino fix, and I wanted every little movie or every little thing that had to do with the man because I saw Pulp Fiction, and it made me absolutely go from just being a big fan of film to loving film and a man who watches movies to a man who wants to make movies. So I want to get every little thing that he was associated with, and that led me to Killing Zoe, and I'm glad it did because I really do like this movie. Also, Avery is pretty well known for being the man who is a pretty big Phantasm buff, and he actually wrote a script for Phantasm that I don't believe ever, is going to get used. Maybe elements of it might have got used later on, but it's a shame because I think with the way he does stuff, maybe not as good in the dialogue department as Tarantino, although he does have a few good one-liners here and there, and this is definitely an example of that. But in situational stuff, I think definitely you can see his writing merits in that. And if you don't know, this stars Eric Schultz. He plays Zed, and he's in Paris with his childhood friend Eric to basically rob a bank. He's a safe cracker, and they need him to go and crack into this big old safe. It's supposed to be like really, really hard to break into. And his first night in Paris, he ends up getting a number, and he calls a hooker, who is Zoe, or Zoe, and they have a pretty good night together. They kind of connect, but things kind of get abruptly ended, when Eric shows up ready to party with his buddy and throws her out naked at one point. So then him and the other band of misfits, pretty much, that they've got together to rob the place, end up having a big party that night. And we learn some stuff about Eric that's kind of key and very important to the rest of the story later on. And then, we fast forward to the bank robbery, and it just so happens that Zoe, one or the other, is actually working at the bank. So that complicates things. Other things happen that complicate things, and it turns into a pretty interesting situation, pretty interesting crime film. Now, if I had a complaint about this film, I would think my biggest issue with it is when the violence happens more times than not. It seems like the violence kind of happens off camera a lot. Not that I'm like a bloodthirsty guy that just has to have that, but I think it would help to have some of that blood. I don't know, maybe it's cut. I don't know. It says it's R-rated. Maybe they actually cut some stuff. Maybe there was more blood there. I don't know. Maybe one day we'll know if we ever get a actual unrated release here, but it is what it is, and it's good. Like, if you like Reservoir Dogs and stuff like that, I think you'll like it a lot. And if you like Roger Avery's work in general with this, I would totally suggest you go and watch the Rules of Attraction, which is probably one of my favorite top 10 films of all time. Unfortunately, I don't have it now because apparently in my last move that disc disappeared, and I don't know where it's at, but I guess I needed to upgrade a Blu-ray on that anyway. But as far as Killing Zoe goes, like I said, it's only on DVD. As far as I know, this is the only disc you can get of it. They said he kind of butted heads with the head of Artisan at the time. And I think that might have something to do with Lionsgate now. I think the same guy might be like part of the main release group there at Lionsgate now. I think Artisan might have folded into Lionsgate or always been a part of it. And because of that, they never would release a special edition in the States for this. They actually apparently have turned down Kino and Criterion, I believe, at one time or another for special edition Blu-ray releases of this. But maybe later on, that'll change and it'll come out, or if not, maybe you can just import the other one. But it's a fun movie. It's got some clever stuff to it. Maybe a little drag here and there. Maybe the camera cuts away sometimes when it doesn't need to, but it's a little abrupt ending, I guess, in some ways. It leaves stuff to your imagination, but it's still a very fun film, and that's a pretty fun scene right there, and a very weird scene if you actually watch the movie. There's a lot of different opinions on what exactly is going on in that scene there. If you've not seen the movie, then you should definitely check it out and maybe give your own opinion on it. Like I said, this is a pretty bare bone release. It says widescreen, 2.0 Dolby, cast and crew data, production notes, theatrical trailer, digitally remastered, and that's pretty much it. It's kind of bare bones, and I really think something like this deserves a much better release. So maybe one day, whatever will happen, and we'll end up getting this released by Criterion or Kino or Shout Factory or somebody. But I think it would actually, for that to happen, have to require probably some cooler heads prevailing in situations, and maybe, Lionsgate just to lose that death grip they seem to have on a lot of cool releases that they own. Although I don't know why Road Attraction did get a Blu-ray release, and that's the same director and it's the same company, I reckon. So I don't know what the story is here exactly. Of course, that was also a pretty popular adaptation of a book, so maybe that's why that has a lot to do with it. But nonetheless, Killing Zoe, pretty good little crime film. Great director, Roger Avery. I love his stuff. I wish he would do more stuff. I think he kind of dropped off the face of the earth, hasn't he? He done like Beowulf and stuff like that. And I don't know. I'd like to see him return to this type of stuff. I'd actually like to see Quentin Tarantino return to this type of stuff too. But if they don't, whatever. He still got this. So that's Killing Zoe or Killing Zoe. Maybe one of you can tell me which proper way to pronounce it. I don't know, but I would recommend this totally for anybody that loves film in general. I always give it like a 4 out of 5. That's how much I love it. So if you haven't seen it, maybe you should watch it. Maybe you'll like it just as well.